Not long ago, I was in a meeting with a couple of friends and we had a short lecture and a small question and answer session afterwards. And one of these friends asked regarding parenting and so on, and they asked that is it right for parents to encourage or force their children to pray? As we all know, as Muslims, we're supposed to pray, and we, as parents, may have children who are getting to the age where they should be praying. What can we do to encourage or force them to pray? If forcing them is allowed, and it's okay, and it's the right thing to do, then why do the children not listen? And if it's not the right thing to do, then what must we do to encourage them to pray? Now, I answered only as far as my knowledge obviously accepts. I wouldn't sit there and talk about something that I don't know. But I said to them, look, as far as I know and from what I've read and heard, the following is my answer. The first thing is that I don't believe it's right to force anyone to do anything. And the reason why I say this is that because Allah says in the Quran, Allah says in Surah Baqarah, La ikraha fid din. We will know this if we know Ayatul Kursi off by heart. One of the verses is La ikraha fid din, which means that there is no obligation in religion. In other words, you cannot force someone to become religious. It's not your duty to do such a thing. Allah says it's wrong. Allah says if someone wants to be religious, then they're religious. If they're not, then let them live how they want to live. There is no compulsion in religion, no obligation in religion. That's my answer. That I believe that, no, it's wrong. It is wrong to force your children or anyone to pray, fast, do anything that is religious. Now, the reason why I say this is that, again, not only does Allah say this, but the second reason for this is that Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, Al-insanu harisun ala ma mune, which means that it's in human nature, a human being finds attractive, longs to have, wants to gain that which is made forbidden for him. Harisun ala ma mune, that thing that is made mamnu', forbidden for him, he wants it. And we see this. Many times you tell the child, for instance, you're working on your laptop and you're going out of your room and you tell the child, don't touch my laptop, don't touch it. And you see they're going to, don't touch it, don't touch it. You keep telling them, don't touch it. And what does it solve? What does it gain? What does it achieve? Nothing but the fact that they only want to touch it more. They say, why shouldn't I touch it? If you're touching it, why can't I touch it? Let me touch it, let me see what happens. So they become more curious to see what this is. You know, what is this thing that my dad's touching? My mum's, sitting there hours on end typing on it. I want to do it too. So the more you tell someone don't do something, they want to do it. And the more you tell them do something, they don't want to do it. We've seen this many times. Clean up your room. Clean up your room. The child doesn't want to do it. And the only reason why they would do it is because they're probably going to get a big backhand from the parents or something, or be grounded. So we see that it's human nature that when they're forced to do something, they don't want to do it. And when they're told not to do it, they want to do it even more. So we've seen what Allah says, we see what Imam Ali alayhi salam says. And the third reason why I would say that force is not a good thing to do, especially, on a daily basis. I hear some people saying that my parents force me on a daily basis, several times a day, telling me, have you prayed? Have you prayed? Why haven't you prayed? Go do your prayers. The third reason is that that person is then not doing it with the right intention. We know that Allah says, the first thing you do when you stand to pray is you say your niyat, your intention, then you start. That intention is not from the bottom of their heart. That prayer is nothing. In fact, it's detrimental to the child, to the youngster. It makes them hate prayer even more because they stand there and in their heart they're saying, oh, my parents forced me to do this prayer. I don't want to pray. I just want to get it out of the way. What's praise even good for? Allahu Akbar. They do the prayer. But it makes them hate the prayer even more. It makes them always want to look for a way out of having to pray because they've been forced to do it. Now, we've seen that these are three very big reasons why we shouldn't force our children or family members or even other people to pray, because it doesn't achieve the desired outcome, neither for them nor for us. If anything, we are sinning because we are making them hate prayer. We are making them hate religion even more. They may not say it, but believe me, in their hearts they feel it. We were all young at one time, and if not regarding religion, we've all been forced by our parents to do something. I hear it many times from friends, from students, from so on, that when we're forced to do something, we don't want to do it. We hate it. So if anything, the person that is forcing that family member is actually sinning because they are taking them away from religion. So what must one do then to encourage their children or family members to pray? I mentioned that if you want somebody to have it in their heart, you have to raise them with it. That doesn't mean that when, they're 2 years old, you grab them on the prayer mat and say, pray now, pray, or you're not going to get your milk bottle or your dummy or something. No. What I'm saying is that, for instance, it becomes prayer time and you have a young child. The child may be 2 years old, 3 years old, however old, but very young, yes? The one thing that I would say to do would be to make prayer time a fun time. So you tell the child, for instance, 5 minutes before prayer, before adhan, you'll chase them around the house, you'll tickle them, you'll throw them in the air and catch them, you'll play a computer game with them, anything. Whatever it is that the child likes, you'll do that action with them 5 minutes, for a period of 5 to 10 minutes before prayer. Then you'll sit them down and say, look, I have to pray now, but afterwards again, we'll have another very short session again, okay? I'll play with you, I'll do this, I'll do that. So the child then sits there waiting. When's Dad's going to finish? When's Mum going to finish prayer? As soon as Mum finishes prayer, they jump at it. Come on, let's play. So they slowly become acquainted with prayer, that prayer is a fun time, because before prayer, we get to play, and after prayer, we get to play. This way, you psychologically program your child into liking prayer. Now, it's not a bad thing. Is it fooling the child? No. It's just you're teaching the child that prayer is important. We have to break for prayer, and then we play again afterwards. The child then grows up learning that prayer time is something fun. Now, obviously, when they're 18 years old, you're not going to tell them, come on, let me tickle you, let me chase you around the house, you won't even be able to throw them in the air. They'll be throwing you in the air by the time they're 18. So you have to change the activity with the age. Hopefully, by the time they're 18, you won't even need to be telling them to pray. By the age of 10, 12, they'll pick it up themselves. But you have to slowly bring them into it, make them realise that prayer time is something important. We break for prayer and then we carry on. Okay? Now, one thing that I've realised, I've heard many times, I didn't want to have to say this, but since we are talking about religion, and it's my duty as a speaker to tell the truth, not to fool anyone or to hide the truth from people. I hear this a lot from students and from parents, that my children don't pray, or students say, I don't want to pray. And I ask them, why don't you want to pray? What's wrong with prayer? What do you lose from praying? They say, look, my dad prays, but he's like this. I've seen my mum pray, but she speaks about people behind their back. Behind their back. I don't know this, that, the other. My dad prays, but he gets angry. My mum does this, but... As in, the child has grown up seeing the parents praying and fasting and so on, that the parents are so-called religious parents, but then they see wrong things in the actions of the parents. They then begin to question, what's the point of praying if you're going to do those bad things anyway? As in they, in their mind, see someone who prays as someone who is bad. So really it's the parents' fault for showing the children in such a way. The parents have to be careful that they're not like this. If anything, they have to be careful for Allah's sake. But if you're not going to do it for Allah's sake, at least do it for your own child's sake. That they don't see you doing these things or acting in such a way and then praying, standing for prayer. The child says, what a contradiction. This is an oxymoron. Someone who stands there and curses people and then stands there to pray. Someone who backbites and then stands there to pray. Someone who steals and then stands there to pray. Someone who gets angry and stands there to pray. Do you see what I'm saying? You have to make sure that your actions complement the religion and prayer and so on. So that when they see the parents are praying, they see, okay, from what I've seen so far from my parents, they are very good people. They help people out a lot. They never get angry. They're like this, they're like that. They don't backbite, so on and so forth. And now they're standing to pray. So prayer must also be a good thing. So they liken the action of prayer to the characteristics of the parents. And because they respect their parents and they see that their parents are good people, they want to follow in the footsteps of their parents. So there is much to talk about this. I mean, I'm trying to make it as short as possible so that we can just take something away from it bit by bit and inshallah learn more from it. But without doubt, force is not the way to encourage your children to pray. If anything, if you see that your child has reached an age where they should be praying but they're not, then you have to question where in the upbringing of the child did we go wrong? And how now can we fix that? By force, it's not the right way. By addressing that, by making it, it's not the right way. You have to find another way around it. Also, the very fact that you pray for them to have good friends. Sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of the time I've seen the reason why youngsters do not pray is because of the influence of their friends. They feel that they will make fun or do this or do that. Or they see their friends don't pray, they go and do other things. They also want to do those other things. So we have to say as parents, the only thing that we can do in this situation is pray that Allah guides them. We failed our duty. We couldn't bring them up in the right way. Something has gone wrong along the path. So now what can we do to make it better? Inshallah, we've taken something away from this very short reminder, and I pray that if in the future any of us who do have children or we are looking to have children in the future, that we remember these things, we bring them up in the right way, that we don't do things in front of the children or force them to religious duties that they then turn their back on religion. We have to be very careful with this, inshallah. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.